What's going on YouTube? This is CRizzy Takes episode 2, and today of course we are going to be looking at the 1-0 Bucks taking on the 1-1 Vikings, where I'll break down the game by position and then I'll make my prediction at the end of the game. So hey man, let's not waste too much time. Let's get right into this video. Alright, as always, first things first are the injuries and who's going to be more affected by said injuries. So looking at Minnesota's injury report, not too many new injuries except for Sam Bradford, who is questionable up to this point after missing last week's game, which is obviously a huge question going up against the defense like Tampa. As you've seen what Tampa was able to do against Mike Glennon last week. Other questionables include Xavier Rhodes and Anthony Barr, but both are expected to play this Sunday, so the list isn't too long for Minnesota. Moving on to Tampa, again, the biggest inactive for the Bucks this week is suspended Doug Martin, who's going to be gone for 2 more games. However, other than that, only Quan Alexander has had any injury problems this week. He hasn't practiced this week due to a hamstring injury, but he's told reporters, he's told the media that he's fine and he plans to play this Sunday. At the end of the day, even if he isn't able to go this weekend and he has to sit out, we have a lot of linebacker depth, so we should be fine. And looking at these two teams, neither have been hit hard by the injury bug, unlike last week where Chicago had such a long list of players that were out. But Minnesota having questions about their QB obviously has to be more concerning than for Tampa, who is so much talented linebacker depth if Quan Alexander can't go. So we'll go ahead and say that Tampa has the edge in injuries. So a quick update on this. It is now Saturday night, so the injury reports are more official. Sam Bradford, he's officially out. Quan Alexander, he's officially out. Those two things, I still feel that the Bucks had the better edge on the injury part, but then Chris Baker today, he's also been ruled out. That kind of changes things up front, especially with the running back as talented as Dalvin Cook and Latavius Murray. So that I'm gonna have to switch it to the Vikings have the edge here on the injury side. Getting into the passing attack for the Vikings against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers secondary, the guys like Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, of course, and Laquan Treadwell, all guys that are, going to be guys that we got to focus on. But I think the guy that is the biggest concern to me isn't a receiver. To me, is Kyle Rudolph, and it's Dalvin Cook coming out the backfield. I think these two guys are two guys that are going to make some big-time plays for this Vikings offense, more so than a Stephon Diggs. I'm not saying that Brent Grimes or Vernon Hargreaves can just absolutely shut down Stephon Diggs. I don't think you can just shut down a player as good as Stephon Diggs. I think, though, that they will do a good enough job containing Stephon Diggs. I think guys like Kyle Rudolph and Dalvin Cook, I think those two guys are going to have bigger games and I think it's going to be an area that's going to give us a little bit of a problem for most of the game, if not all of the game. So, in my opinion, Kyle Rudolph, Dalvin Cook, those are the two guys that we had to have the biggest concern here for. Okay, moving on to the running attack. Kind of brought this up in my update earlier, in my injury update, but obviously Dalvin Cook, Latavius Murray, and I think, in my opinion, if Jerick McKinnon gets any playing time, I think all 3 of these running backs are decent, really good, especially Dalvin, but I think all 3 of these running backs are formidable running backs for us to face, especially now that our front 7 is a lot weaker. Last week when I talked about Jordan Howard and I talked about Tariq Cohen, I said that I trust guys like Chris Baker. I said I trust guys like Quan Alexander. Both of those guys not playing now. I'm not 100% sure who's going to be filling in. I'm pretty sure Clinton McDonald is going to be filling in for Chris Baker this week, and I'm also pretty sure that on the linebacker spot, I hope we just plug Kendall Beckwith in the spot where Quan Alexander is, but I'm pretty sure Adarius Glanton is going to get a lot of playing time on Sunday now that Quan Alexander's out. Darius Glanton, I will see how that works for us. I do trust Clint McDonald. He's been our defensive tackle for a minute now. I think it's going to be a little bit harder for us to stop Dalvin Cook than it would have been before, but it wouldn't have been easy in the first place. But this is a good part for the Vikings here. So with the 2 injuries, I'm going to have to give the edge here to the Vikings on this part. But I don't think it's a huge advantage. I don't think it's something like that's going to be something that can expose us or anything like that. But with the injury of Quan and with the injury of Chris, it's going to be difficult for us to stop guys like Dalvin Cook and Latavius Murray. So I'll give the edge to the Vikings on that one. And moving on to the last part for the Vikings offense, of course, the quarterback play. Case Keenum, the starting quarterback. And, for a lot of teams here, and Case Keenum is the starting quarterback going against you, that's a great thing, But, Case Keenum obviously has had a history of really tearing up Tampa Bay's secondary. He did it a couple years ago when he was on the Rams the first time on Thursday Night Football. The St. Louis Rams, he absolutely just tore us up. That was a Lovie Smith defense. Every Buck fan knows how that defense worked. So last year, at the start of last year, the Rams came into that game, hadn't scored a touchdown, and then of course he puts 37 points up on us. So, obviously, there's still a lot of people that are kind of cautious about that, but I don't think he repeats that performance. I think our defense is much improved under Mike Smith. I think now that they played under his system, they definitely understand it more. I definitely don't think he's going to come anywhere near 37 points or anything like that. Case Keenum is what he was brought here to be, and that's a backup quarterback, and that's what he is. And I don't think he's going to. I'm not going to say he's going to have a horrible game against us, because that's. But I'm not going to say, I definitely don't think he's going to have as much success this game as he's had many other games. Case Keenum is Case Keenum, and I think that we should do a fine job against him. All right, starting for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensively, we're starting with the wide receivers versus the Vikings secondary. Obviously, like I said, I start with the thing that we had the biggest advantage in, and it's probably going to be like this for at least this week and next week, because I just don't believe in our running game so far right now. But anyway, this is not like last week where I picked this matchup because it was just such a clear advantage to me. Obviously, the Vikings secondary, very formidable. You got guys, Xavier Rhodes, obviously, the experienced Terrence Newman. I'm pretty sure Tremaine Brock is going to be healthy and ready to go. Trey Waynes, Harrison Smith in the back and at the safety spot. This is obviously a very formidable secondary that we're going against. However, I think this is the best matchup that we have offensively. Obviously, I could give you the rundown, but the guys, Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson, Cameron Brate. I feel we're going to be fine there. I think it's a strength versus a strength. But I think our strength wins out here. And obviously with the guy Jameis Winston throwing the football, he might make a mistake this game. He might make a mistake against a guy like Xavier Rhodes or an experienced guy like Terrence Newman. However, I feel that this is the best matchup that we have on the field, period, offense and defense, once again. And I think that this is the thing that can hopefully win us this football game. So I say that the edge here goes to Tampa, but it's an edge. It's a small edge that I think we have. Obviously, Vikings have a great defensive secondary. Moving on to our rushing attack against their front seven. Listen, once again, we did pretty decent last week. I know CRizzy Rogers had a rushing touchdown. Charles Sims, I know there's a lot of complaints about Charles Sims. I know he fumbled the football. And, that just didn't surprise me at all. That's why I don't want him gaining the most of our carries, which he did not last week. That makes me happy. But, so again, Doug Martin, obviously, still out. And we're going up against one of the best front sevens in the NFL. Everson Griffin, Linval Joseph, Eric Kendricks. All these guys, Anthony Barr, these guys are so good up front. And it's going to be a real problem for us to run the football this week, I feel. I like CRizzy Rogers. I don't think he should be a number one back. And I like Charles Sims, but I don't want him carrying my ball, period. I want him getting catches out the backfield. I don't want him carrying my football. So, last week I thought it was going to be a lot tougher than it was. And it was tough, I feel, but it wasn't anywhere near as tough as I thought it would be. Fortunately, I think that's because they had a lot of pieces out and they just went on their game. Chicago just was not ready for us in any way, shape, or form. But I think that the Vikings have another edge here. But, we'll see how this goes. We did a lot better last week than I thought we would do. And chances are we can possibly do a lot better this week than I think we would do. But guys, Eric Kendricks, when I keep looking at this list, it gets more and more intimidating for our rushing attack against their front seven. It's going to be real hard. It's going to be a real battle there. But I definitely got to give this one to the Vikings. Okay, making my prediction. Before I make my prediction, I should say that when I was talking about the Vikings receivers versus our secondary, I didn't give an edge. I do give that edge to Tampa Bay because, like I said, I think that we should be fine against their receivers. I'm worried about Kyle Rudolph. I'm worried about Dalvin Cook. However, receiver-wise and going down the field and then who's the quarterback and whatnot like that, I think that we're going to be fine in that area. I think the people that are going to make us hurt the most are going to be Kyle Rudolph and Dalvin Cook coming out the backfield. However, I do give that edge to Tampa. So going into my prediction for this game is I'm going to say Tampa wins this game by a score of 24-20. 24-20. I think it's going to be a close one, closer than some Buck fans might think. I think some Buck fans might think that we might get a little bit of a comfortable win due to the fact that Case Keenum's out. But you got to remember, that Case Keenum is playing. But you got to remember, that this is a road game. Obviously, Minnesota, always a tough place to play. I don't care where they're playing. I don't care if they're in the old Metrodome. I don't care if they were still at the Minnesota Gophers Stadium or this new stadium. Always a tough place to play. At defense, obviously legitimate, formidable. And I think that we're going to have a tough time stopping their run with our two injuries. And I think we're going to have a tough time running the football. But the two things, I think the air attack is where we had the bigger advantage. We had the better quarterback. We had the better receivers, I feel. But we don't have the better secondary. But I think our secondary is good enough where we can still win this game. And at the end of the day, we still got Levante David. We still have Kendall Beckwith, who I really like. We still have Gerald McCoy. We still have Golston. We still have Spence. We still have, I'm forgetting somebody. Ayers. So I'm still confident in our defense that we're not going to let them run ragged. And, of course, Case Keenum. I believe that Case Keenum is a quarterback that's going to help us win this game. So I think it's going to be a close game. But I do say that the edge in this one's going to be with Tampa. I say the Bucks win this game 24-20. We move to 2-0, and we get a big game against the Giants. What's going on, YouTube? One last thing before I check up out of here. This is episode 2 of CRizzy's Takes. I hope you like it. Please like and subscribe to this video. Tell your friends about it. Tell all my Buck fans, please. Get people out here. Let them know about what I'm doing. Last thing, though. I'm going to put my picks for all the games at the end of this video. Tell me what you think about it. So that's what I'm going to do. And maybe, depending on how this goes, I might start just doing more takes for other games. The games that I feel are the most interesting, period. Whether it's Tampa Bay Buccaneers football or not. And doing round 3 of them and then putting my picks and all that good stuff. We'll see how it goes. But please like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.